Hello, my name's Zach, aka Starlight Walker, and this is Make a Record with Starlight Walker. So tonight we are going to be focusing on the acoustic guitar for a song of mine called Three of Swords. Three of Swords is a fingerstyle acoustic song that guitar is going to be the main focal point apart from the vocals of the track. So we want to make sure that we capture it in a really rich stereo fashion. And to do that, we're going to be using a pretty cool mic technique called the XY pattern. So let's jump on over to our recording booth and we'll take a look at how we have it set up. Hey there, we're all set up and ready to record. I've got my Gibson J45 tuned to open C, and I've got two Shure KSM 137s here arranged in an XY or near coincidence pattern, which should allow us to capture a very nice stereo image on this guitar while virtually eliminating any possibility for phasing because we've got this arrangement here. Let's take a look at a quick diagram and I'll explain what's going on with the actual XY pattern. All right, so apologies for my drawing. Basically what we've got, you can see the two dark red lines there represent the microphones, and the actual capsules where it picks up the sound, you can see that they're sort of essentially acting as one single point. And this is what the term near coincidence means, is we've got two microphones that are basically being treated as one that are acting in stereo. You can see that that particular point is about 6 to 10 inches away from where the neck meets the body of the guitar. You'll want to experiment with that a little bit with your own recordings, see what sounds best for your room and for your guitar. Mine is right now about 7 inches away, which should let me pick up a nice rich sound from the guitar and also eliminate a lot of the room noises from this very, very untreated room that I'm recording in. So the other thing that you want to pay attention to here is the distance of each microphone from the actual part of the guitar that it's pointed at. So the nice thing about doing a recording like this, apart from eliminating phasing, is we can actually change the positioning of the microphones ever so slightly to adjust the tone and the balance that we get from each part of the guitar. So for example, I'm looking for a much more rich high end and to cut out a lot of the lows and the boominess. So the way I have my microphones positioned allows me to point the left-hand microphone at the 12th fret, which also causes the right-hand microphone to be a lot further away from the body of the guitar, which means that that 12th fret sound is going to be a lot louder because it's a lot closer to the microphones than the right-hand side, which is picking up that body. So as we'll see here in just a minute when I pull up the mixer, we're going to get a really, really balanced tone just based on how we position these microphones, which is super helpful and a really good technique to learn and experiment with as you're doing home recordings, because it can save you a lot of time trying to get everything right in the mix down phase if you just kind of spend that little extra time up front to capture it. All right, so let's pop over to the Mac. I'll pull up my console and kind of see how I'm routing these microphones through our audio interface, and then we'll get back over here and try and record something. All right, so we've got everything hooked up, ready to go, but before we start recording, let's just take a look inside the computer and see how we're actually routing that audio signal through the audio interface. So I'm using the UAD, the Universal Audio Apollo Twin Mark II, I think. It's a really nice audio interface. It's basically just got two inputs, but where it shines is this console application that lets you use their proprietary UAD plugins to create these sort of virtual signal chains. So my goal here is I don't really want to change the tone of the guitar coming in, but I do want to give it a little bit of like a vintage kind of color. So in order to do that, I've got 3 plugins set up. I've got this 1073, it's a famous preamp from a really famous British console. Basically, it has a preamp section and an EQ section. We've got the EQ section turned off. Have not adjusted anything on the preamp section at all. Just trying to get some of that color from that classic kind of console sound. We've got some light compression going on here from this LA2A emulator. Nothing too crazy. Again, just trying to cut off any harsh peaks as well as give it a little bit more of that saturation from these vintage electronics, or what these vintage electronics would have given us if we were actually using the real deal. And then the final plugin here we have is this oxide tape plugin. Again, just set to the default, really just trying to capture some of that tone and feel of using actual analog equipment on a budget, so that we don't have to go out and drop a bunch of money on vintage gear. The only other interesting thing that I'll point out, well, there's 2 more things, I guess. The first one is that we have this insert effects set to record instead of monitor. So what that means is that as the audio signal comes through and is processed by these plugins, we're actually going to commit to that sound as it's tracking, rather than just using it as a way to listen back through headphones or something like that. We want to do that just because it's really easy to get caught up in plugins and tones and endlessly tweaking things to see if we can get it just that little bit better, which really gets in the way of trying to actually finish music. So in the spirit of committing to a sound, we are recording these insert effects as they come in. On the flip side though, we do have this send over here, sending to this EMT 140, which is just a plate reverb emulator that UAD has. What this send is doing essentially is just giving me some reverb in my headphones so that I can monitor my sound. I find that performances are always a little bit easier when you can hear what you're playing back in the headphones with a little bit of reverb. So that little touch there is not being recorded, but is being sent back through the headphones so we can listen to it as we play and record. The last thing I'll mention here is these 2 tracks are essentially your left and your right. The plugins are going to be copy-pasted directly from one to the other, so you're going to have an identical signal, so we can really use that as our stereo guitar sound. Okay, we've got our mic set up, we've got our song, we've got everything connected and routed correctly. So I'm going to take a little bit of time and start tracking. We'll see you back here hopefully in, I don't know, it's a 4-minute song, so maybe 16 minutes or so. See you then. All right, we've got some takes here. I've got Pro Tools pulled up. We are looking pretty good, actually. Didn't take too long to get a decent sound, so let's without further ado, let's take a listen, see what it sounds like. Alright, so I'm very, very happy with that sound. You can hear we've captured a really nice stereo image of the guitar. We've got a really nice richness and a really well-balanced tone. It's not too bassy, the highs aren't too sharp. There might be a little bit of room to do some EQ, but overall I'm really, really happy with the sound of that. So you'll notice here, yeah, that's the raw signal. We do have some plugins on the chain that I'll probably use eventually. But those are all bypassed right now. We've got no reverb, so what you're hearing is literally what's coming through those microphones and being sent through our audio interface and that simple plug-in chain that we have. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to be working with. I think for the most part, I'll do another video in the future about comping and editing and talking a little bit about, more how we start to mix as opposed to just tracking. But I think that should be just enough to get us started with recording a great acoustic sound. Okay, like I said, I'm super happy with how that turned out. Thanks a ton for joining me. Really glad you could take a look, and it's a little messy, We're kind of figuring it out as we go, but hey, I'm having a lot of fun. If you like this video and you like the content that I'm doing here, feel free to subscribe, like, all that YouTube stuff. My name's Zach, and we'll catch you later.